if all of our days were written down into a book that the Lord made before we were born, and we actually had the opportunity to look through this book, maybe later in life or just any time, and you can see all the different ways that you messed up or you didn't do this or whatever. But by the end of it, God had a plan for each one of those times to either discipline us or just bring us closer to Him. I think it'd be kind of cool to have a book like that, kind of like your own little baby book. Like, here's the book of your life. Hi, I'm Nathan McFarland, and this is my story. Living in the South, I was born in Alabama, and I'm just automatically born a Christian wherever you're born, especially in the South, because people just walk around and, hey, are you a Christian? It's like, yeah, of course. My granddaddy was a Christian, so therefore I'm a Christian, whatever. But with all that to say, I was born into a Christian household, raised by a Christian mom and dad. Took us to church every Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday nights, and the youth, and learning about God's Word and doing plays and different things with the kids. So it was definitely fun growing up. A lot of fond memories of going to church camps and all the things. Well, at some point in most people's lives, not just mine, but just because you've grown up into a certain either lifestyle or just way of thinking, maybe just because that's the way your parents thought, so therefore you naturally think those things as well. I perceived myself as being a Christian. I actually got baptized twice in my life, and once when I was probably 9 or 10, and the pastor came to the house, and we kind of talked about the gospel and what Jesus did for us on the cross. And so I was like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm gonna get saved. I'm gonna be baptized. And then later on, during my high school years, probably because of a church camp or something along those lines, I came back from camp and kind of, I want to call it rededication or whatever we call these things these days. So a verse that came back from camp that really just stuck in my mind was Psalms 19:14. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O God, my Lord and my Redeemer. And up until that point, you can say verbally you're a Christian, but unless you back it up with actions, it doesn't really mean a whole lot. So that verse really stuck out to me as just saying, in everything that I do, say, do, act out upon, let it all be acceptable to the Lord. And I was once again baptized after that, because I just felt like, well, maybe the first time didn't stick, so I'll just get dunked again and I'll be official this time. And then high school happens, college happens, and when you grow up and you're going through like your early 20s, which if you're in the youth right now, or maybe you just graduated high school and you're all wondering, what is my life going to entail? Some people don't have hardships that they really go through. They just think life is pretty easy up until that point. And for most people it is. So I went through college, eventually graduated, and, got a job here around Nashville. Eventually, through, I would call it the grace of God and definitely in His plan, I wasn't looking for this, but I did eventually meet my now wife. It's just one of those things where you just kind of know when you see somebody. I'm attracted to all kinds of women, girls at the time. It's like, oh yeah, she's cute, whatever. But I saw Alicia, my now wife, and just something in me just knew. So we were married about 2007. We met in 2006, got married in 2007. So it was pretty quick turnaround. When you know, kind of deal. And we were married for a few years, and eventually got pregnant with our firstborn son, Stetson. And I was still working my job. I was playing in a band at the time, doing different regional touring, and we eventually got the opportunity to go tour Europe, which was really fun. Playing rock and roll for a bunch of Germans and Norwegians and whoever else we got to play for. So up until that point, I was just kind of, I'm a Christian. I'm serving my family, serving my church, doing different music things, playing in the band, and maybe helping teach a class here and there, kind of deal. But I think at that point I was definitely on my own track and not really, I wasn't seeking what God would have me to do in my life, which really at that point I didn't really know what else to do. I don't like change a whole lot, so when I get into a job, I just don't leave it. I just kind of stick around just to go along, to get along, kind of deal. And so anyway, through different circumstances, I was actually had to quit that job after 10 years. So I was just kind of stuck. I was like, well, what is my life really doing right now? I don't really know what the next step is. And through that time, I was pretty much a stay-at-home dad. My wife and was going with Stetson and our now second child, our daughter, Lillian. She was going to take care of her grandma. And it was on a Friday, January 30th. I think it was January 30th. The kids were home with me. Alicia was off helping her grandmother, whatever she needed to do with that. And this is one of those things you can't really prepare yourself for. But we were making pizza. We had Family Feud on the TV and just having a fun night with, me and the kids. And Stetson and Lillian were just kind of running around, playing, doing their thing. And I walk into another room to go grab something. I'm not sure what it was at this point. But I just kind of heard off in the distance, in the other room, in the kitchen, just like this thud. And then, heard crying, whatever. And so I walk in, kind of frustrated with the kids, like, what are you kids doing? Stetson, why'd you let your sister fall or whatever happened? I didn't see it firsthand. I just kind of assumed certain things. And, so I kind of picked him up and set him on the couch and was like, all right, I'll be back. Go get your sister. And when I come back, Stetson's eyes was kind of rolled back in his head, wasn't breathing right. And I'm like, well, okay, I don't know what's going on right now. Definitely wasn't breathing hardly at all by that point. So I try doing CPR. And, they try to teach you that stuff in 8th grade, but, no one pays attention. Nobody pays attention, especially me. And I couldn't do anything for him. Called 911. My neighbor came over. He was a good friend and helped a lot with the kids. And long story short, he didn't make it that night. So now I'm really in a rut. Because I'm no job, just my child just died. And through all this, I still had that Christian background. I know the truths of the Bible, of how, Psalms 139, before basically, before we were born, he knitted us in our womb. All the number of our days is written down before there was even one. So what really got me through that time in my life is just knowing that basically the prayer of Job is like, you gave it to me, you took it away, and what else can I do? And just what else can I do but praise him for whatever he gives me in life? And after those long months and years of grief and dealing with all the things that you go through when you lose, especially a child in your life, it could be anybody. We stepped out in faith, and we were able to have another child, which is now Cora. And we also now have another son named Tatum. Cora was kind of planned because we were kind of seeking that direction. Not that we can really replace Stetson in any way, but if the Lord lays it on your heart to try for another child, then that's what we did. And Tatum was definitely a surprise. So I can say that, especially having children, much less getting married and following Ephesians 5, where the man is head over the woman, but we're really a team together for the Lord. And being able to have children in your life that you can also bring up in the Lord and just teach them all the ways that he is powerful and mighty and gracious toward us in every situation in life. And because of going through that, I can also say that there's really no sense in living with regret in life, because we know that he has a plan for each one of us. And as long as we are not too self-seeking and actually put him first in all that we do, then I think your life will work out for the best. It may not look like it at all times. You may often wonder, why am I going through this right now? But something that this is probably not truly biblical, but something I kind of think of often is, if all of our days are written down into a book that the Lord made before we were born, and we actually had the opportunity to look through this book maybe later in life or just any time, and you can see all the different ways that you messed up or you didn't do this or whatever. But by the end of it, God had a plan for each one of those times to either discipline us or just bring us closer to him. And I think it'd be kind of cool to have a book like that, kind of like your own little baby book. Like, here's the book of your life. Which I know, I think certain different TV shows and movies kind of portray that kind of thing. So this is the book of your life. But we don't have that opportunity. We can't see the end from the beginning, but God does. He sees all that. And all we have to do is just trust in what he has told us in his word, and follow his commandments of loving the Lord your God first and then loving your neighbor. If we can do that, then no matter what comes at us in life, then we know that he has us, and we can just give the praise back to him that he deserves. I am Nathan, and this is my story.